The great crystal towers of Centralis Prime gleamed under the light of three suns. Today marked 1,200 years since the last Great War had ended. Ships from across the galaxy had come to celebrate the peace that the Hegemony Council had brought to all known worlds. High Arbiter Vexthul stood on the central platform, her crystalline body catching the light as she spoke to millions gathered below. Today we celebrate not just peace, but perfection. Our 7 great species have worked together to create a galaxy where war is forgotten, and chaos is just a word from the past. The crowd cheered. Representatives from all the major species were there. The insect-like Cathara clicked their approval. The water-breathing Aquarians bubbled with joy. The energy beings called Etherians glowed brighter. Everyone was happy. But in the back of the great hall, an old Etherian named Sage Multaran floated quietly. His ancient form pulsed with different colors as he thought about the speech he was about to give. In his energy matrix, he carried data files that were older than most civilizations. And now, High Arbiter Vexthul announced, "Our greatest historian will share the legends of our past, so we may better appreciate our present." Sage Multaran drifted forward. His voice carried across the hall without need for speakers. Long ago, before our great peace, there were stories. Stories of a species that lived between the stars themselves. They were called humans. Some in the crowd laughed. Everyone knew humans were just myths. Stories parents told children to make them behave. These legends speak of beings who could not stay still. Multaran continued. When their world died, they did not die with it. Instead, they took to the void between galaxies. They became the Void Walkers. War Prime Gorlak of the Cathara species shifted uncomfortably. His 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. Recently, his patrol ships had found strange things at the edge of the galaxy. Ships that looked like nothing they had ever seen. Technology that made no sense. The stories say humans were different from us, Multaran said. Where we seek order, they embraced chaos. Where we found perfect solutions, they kept searching for better ones. Where we learned to be content, they always wanted more. High Arbiter Vexthul's crystal form dimmed slightly. She did not like where this was going. Sage Multaran, surely these are just old stories meant to entertain? Perhaps, the old Etherian replied, but I have been studying recent reports from our border patrols. Ships found drifting with crews in perfect sleep. Technology that bends space in ways we do not understand. Energy patterns that match no known species. The hall grew quiet. War Prime Gorlak stood up, his insect wings buzzing with agitation. You speak of the ghost ships. My scientists have studied them. They are just relics from some dead civilization. Are they? Multaran asked. Or are they scouts? Far beyond the edge of the galaxy, in the cold void between star systems, something massive moved through the darkness. It was a fleet unlike anything the Hegemony had ever seen. 50,000 ships of various sizes, all moving together with perfect coordination. At the center of this fleet was a ship so large it could have held entire cities. The Indomitable had been humanity's home for 8 centuries. Its hull was scarred from battles with space pirates, cosmic storms, and things that lived in the dark between galaxies. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Tae-Ho Kim stood looking at the stars ahead. His face was weathered from decades of command. His uniform bore the marks of a warrior who had fought to keep his people alive in the endless night of space. Admiral called Dr. Sujin Park from her station. She was studying readings from their long-range sensors. We're picking up massive energy signatures ahead. There's definitely a galaxy there, and it's full of life. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. After 800 years, we're finally home. Behind him, Captain Bo Ram Lee studied tactical displays. She was younger than the Admiral, but had earned her rank through skill and bravery. Sir, the energy patterns suggest advanced civilizations. Multiple species. They've built something big. Good, Admiral Kim said. We're not looking for empty worlds. We want to meet the neighbors. Dr. Park looked up from her instruments. As the fleet's expert on alien life, she had spent decades preparing for this moment. Admiral, I'm reading 7 distinct technological signatures. 7 different species all working together. They've achieved something remarkable here. Engineer Dalsu Choi approached with a report in his hands. He had been with the fleet since the beginning, when Earth's sun had started to die and humanity had been forced to flee their home world. Sir, the fleet is ready. All ships report full operational status. We've never been stronger. Admiral Kim walked to the main view screen. Ahead of them, the galaxy sparkled with the light of billions of stars. For the first time in 8 centuries, humanity was about to enter a populated galaxy. But they were not the same species that had left Earth so long ago. The void had changed them. Where other species had grown comfortable and safe, humans had been forced to adapt or die. They had learned to fight space pirates who attacked from multiple dimensions. They had survived cosmic storms that could tear apart entire fleets. They had faced the cold, empty darkness and refused to give up. Dr. Park, Admiral Kim said, what do you think we'll find in there? She considered the question carefully. Based on the energy patterns, I think we'll find species that have achieved great peace and stability. But Admiral, I'm also seeing signs that their technology hasn't advanced much in the last few centuries. They may have become too comfortable. Captain Lee smiled grimly. That could be a problem for them. Or an opportunity for all of us, Admiral Kim replied. We didn't survive 8 centuries in the void just to start another war. We came here to find a new home, not to take someone else's. Engineer Choi pulled up a tactical display. Sir, I recommend we send a scout ship ahead. Captain Hun Woo Yoon and his crew on the Pathfinder are our best at first contact situations. Agreed, Admiral Kim said. But make sure they know we're not conquerors. We're explorers. We're survivors. And after 800 years in the dark, we're ready to see the light again. As the human fleet prepared to enter the galaxy, none of them knew that their arrival would change everything. The hegemony had built a perfect peace based on order and control, but humans brought something that had been missing from the galaxy for over 1,000 years, the chaos of endless possibility. The legends were about to become real, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Hyun Woo Yoon checked his instruments one more time as the Pathfinder approached the galaxy's edge. His scout ship was small compared to the massive vessels in the human fleet, but it was fast and packed with the most advanced technology humanity had developed during their long journey through the void. Captain, called Specialist Nari Jung from the communication station. I'm picking up patrol signals. Looks like they have border guards. Engineer Min Ho Kang looked up from his console. Energy signatures match what Dr. Park predicted. Definitely. Aquarian design. 20 ships in standard formation. Captain Yoon nodded. The Aquarians were one of the 7 species that ruled this galaxy. According to the old Earth databases, they were water breathers who had developed excellent defensive technology. Let's see how they react to visitors. The Pathfinder crossed into the galaxy's outer rim. Almost immediately, alarms began sounding on the Aquarian patrol ships. Sub-Commander Zixtal, floating in his water-filled command chair, stared at his sensors in confusion. What am I looking at? He bubbled to his crew. The ship that had just appeared was unlike anything in their databases. Its hull seemed to shift and change as he watched, reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Unknown vessel, Zixtal transmitted. You have entered hegemony space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately. On the Pathfinder, Specialist Jung worked frantically with the translation systems. Captain, their language is based on sonic patterns in liquid. I can approximate it, but our translator is having trouble with the syntax. Do your best, Captain Yoon said. Send a peaceful greeting. Jung transmitted their response, but the translation came out garbled. To the Aquarians, it sounded like a threat mixed with random noise. They're not responding properly, Zixtal reported to his fleet. Possible hostile intent, moving to disable and capture. The 20 Aquarian ships moved into attack formation. Their ion cannons powered up, designed to shut down any ship's systems without destroying it. It was standard hegemony procedure. Disable first, ask questions later. Captain, Engineer Kang reported. They're targeting us with ion weapons. Should I raise shields? Yes, but keep weapons powered down, Captain Yoon ordered. We're not here to start a fight. The Aquarian ships fired. Streams of charged particles that could disable any known vessel struck the Pathfinder's hull. But instead of shutting down the human ship's systems, something strange happened. The hull began to glow, absorbing the energy and converting it into power for the ship's systems. Sub-Commander Zixtal's sensors showed the impossible. The target is actually getting stronger from our weapons fire. How is that possible? On the Pathfinder, Engineer Kang smiled. Adaptive metamaterial hull is working perfectly, Captain. Their weapons are just feeding our power systems. Captain, Jung said urgently, they're charging more powerful weapons. I think they're getting scared. Captain Yoon made a decision that would change galactic history. Kang, show them what we can do, but don't hurt anyone. Engineer Kang activated systems that the Aquarians couldn't even understand. Gravity manipulation drives that had been perfected during humanity's centuries in the void. The Pathfinder suddenly moved in 3 directions at once, appearing to be in multiple places simultaneously. The Aquarian weapons couldn't lock onto a target that existed in several dimensions. Their computers crashed trying to process the impossible. Sensor data. What kind of technology is this? Zixtal gasped as his ship's systems overloaded. The Pathfinder moved through the Aquarian formation like water flowing around rocks. Without firing a single weapon, the human ship used precisely controlled gravity fields to disable the alien vessels. Ion cannons were twisted into useless metal. Engine systems were gently crushed. Life support was left completely untouched. In less than 10 minutes, 19 of the 20 Aquarian ships were floating helplessly in space. Only Zixtal's command vessel remained operational, and that was clearly by choice rather than inability. Captain, Yoon opened a communication channel. This time, Specialist Young had enough data to make the translator work properly. Aquarian Commander, Yoon said, his voice now clear through their speakers. We mean you no harm. We are humans, and we have returned to the galaxy after a very long journey. We want to talk, not fight. Sub-Commander Zixtal floated in his chair, trying to understand what had just happened. His entire patrol had been defeated without a single shot being fired. His ships were disabled, but his crews were completely safe. This level of technological control was beyond anything the hegemony had achieved. Humans? He bubbled uncertainly. But humans are myths, legends. We're very real, Captain Yoon replied, and we'd like to discuss peaceful relations with your government. But Zixtal was too frightened to think clearly. Everything he had been taught said this was impossible. The hegemony was the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. No one could defeat their technology so easily. This is some kind of trick. He transmitted to his surviving ship. Full power to engines. We have to warn the Council. The Aquarian command ship fled toward the galaxy's interior, leaving its disabled fleet behind. Captain Yoon watched it go and sighed. Well, that could have gone better, he said. Specialist Jung was monitoring hegemony communication channels. Captain, they're broadcasting emergency alerts. They're calling us an unknown hostile force with impossible technology. Engineer Kang pulled up tactical displays showing the galaxy's interior. Sir, I'm detecting massive fleet movements. Looks like they're mobilizing for war. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Kim received Captain Yoon's report with a mixture of pride and concern. Dr. Park stood beside him, analyzing the encounter data. They're not evil, she said, after reviewing the communications. Just scared. They've had peace for so long that they've forgotten how to handle the unknown. Captain Lee joined them on the bridge. Admiral, we're detecting major fleet movements throughout their territory. At least 500 ships heading toward the outer rim. Admiral Kim studied the tactical displays. The approaching alien fleet was massive, but their movement patterns were predictable. They flew in formations that hadn't changed in centuries. Their tactics were based on overwhelming firepower rather than innovation. They're bringing everything they have, he observed. They think we're invaders. Dr. Park looked at the sensor readings showing the Aquarian ships they had disabled. Admiral, Captain Yoon's crew was able to completely neutralize an entire patrol without harming anyone. That shows incredible restraint and precision. but it also shows how far ahead our technology has advanced. 800 years in the void will do that, Engineer Choi added. We had to innovate or die. They had the luxury of refining existing technology. Admiral Kim made his decision. Signal the fleet. All ships to battle readiness, but weapons are to remain powered down unless I give direct orders. We're not here to conquer anyone. Sir, Captain Lee asked, what if they don't give us a choice? Admiral Kim looked at the approaching alien fleet. On his screens, 500 ships carrying crews who thought they were protecting their galaxy from mythical monsters. They had no idea that the monsters they feared were actually potential allies who had crossed the void between galaxies not for conquest, but for a chance to belong somewhere again. Then we'll show them what humans are really capable of, he said quietly, and hope they're wise enough to listen. The emergency session of the Hegemony Council was unlike anything seen in centuries. Representatives from all 7 major species filled the great chamber on Centralis Prime, their voices raised in heated debate. The holographic display at the center showed Sub-Commander Zixtal's report, playing over and over. Impossible, declared Chief Scientist Yelvara, her crystal body pulsing with agitation. No single ship could disable 20 patrol vessels without weapons fire. War Prime Gorlak slammed one of his 4 fists on the table. The evidence is clear. These humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. They are a threat that must be eliminated before they can establish a foothold in our galaxy. High Arbiter Vexthul tried to maintain order. War Prime, we cannot simply attack beings we know nothing about. Perhaps they truly do want peace. Peace. Gorlak's wings buzzed angrily. They disabled an entire patrol fleet. That is an act of war. Elder Council member Thekmore of the turtle-like Terran species spoke slowly. In my long life, I have seen many conflicts begin with misunderstanding. Perhaps we should try communication before destruction. The debate raged for hours, but gradually 3 clear factions emerged. The warmongers, led by Gorlak, wanted immediate military action. The diplomatists, led by Vexthul, favored attempted communication. The isolationists, led by Thekmore, wanted to retreat to the core worlds and let the humans have the outer rim, while, the council argued, Dr. Jin A. Lim moved unseen through the shadows of a Nexari colony world. Her stealth ship, Silent Observer, was invisible to hegemony sensors. She had volunteered for this dangerous mission to study alien civilizations up close. What she found disturbed her. The Nexari city was beautiful beyond description. Crystal spires reached toward the stars, and every citizen moved with perfect efficiency. There was no crime, no conflict, no disorder of any kind. But there was also no creativity, no innovation, no drive to improve or explore. Dr. Lim recorded her observations. Day 3 of observation. The Nexari have achieved perfect social order. Every citizen knows their role and performs it flawlessly. But I've seen no art, no music, no literature. They've traded their souls for stability. She moved to other worlds, other species. The pattern was the same everywhere. Perfect peace, perfect order, and perfect stagnation. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Wu Jin Han led a reconnaissance team to study hegemony military installations. What they discovered was both encouraging and concerning. Their ships are impressive, he reported to Admiral Kim, but their tactics haven't evolved in centuries. They rely on overwhelming numbers and superior firepower. They've forgotten how to adapt or improvise. Captain Subin. Monitoring hegemony communications from her intelligence ship, had even more disturbing news. Admiral, I'm intercepting internal council transmissions. They're split 3 ways. About 40% want to talk to us, 35% want to destroy us, and 25% want to hide from us. Admiral Kim studied the reports from his reconnaissance teams. The picture that emerged was of a galaxy that had achieved everything humanity had lost when Earth died: peace, stability, and security. But they had paid a terrible price for it. They've forgotten how to dream, Dr. Park observed after reviewing Dr. Lim's cultural reports. They've created perfect societies by eliminating everything that makes life worth living. Captain Lee pulled up tactical displays showing the approaching hegemony fleet. Admiral, they've mobilized the largest military force in their recorded history. 500 ships under the command of Tactical Coordinator Brixnack of the Saurian, Dominion. Admiral Kim had heard of Brixnack. The reptilian commander was considered the greatest military mind in the hegemony. If anyone could challenge human tactical superiority, it would be him. He's good, Admiral Kim admitted, studying Brixnack's service record. Conservative, but effective. He's never lost a battle. Dr. Park looked worried. Admiral, our reconnaissance shows that while individual hegemony species might be willing to coexist with us, their military leadership sees us as an existential threat. They think we'll destroy their perfect order. Maybe we will, Captain Lee said quietly. Not intentionally, but just by existing. We represent everything they've given up. Chaos, uncertainty, the drive to keep pushing forward. Engineer Choi had been analyzing the approaching fleet's formations. Sir, they're using tactics from their last major war, over 1,000 years ago. Classic hammer and anvil strategy. It would have been effective against any civilization they've previously encountered. Admiral Kim made a decision that would determine the fate of both species. Signal the fleet, all ships to battle stations. But I want this to be a demonstration, not a massacre. We're going to show them what we're capable of, but we're also going to show them restraint. Sir, Captain Lee asked, what if they don't surrender? What if they fight to the death? Admiral Kim looked at the tactical display showing the massive alien fleet approaching. 500 ships crewed by beings who thought they were saving their galaxy from monsters. They had no idea that the monsters they feared were the same, species that had once looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. Then we'll do what humans have always done, he said. We'll adapt. Back on Centralis Prime, the Council had finally reached a decision. War Prime Gorlak's faction had won the debate. The pacification fleet would engage the human force and either capture or destroy them. This is necessary, Gorlak told the assembled representatives. We have built something beautiful here, a galaxy without war, without chaos, without the unpredictability that leads to suffering. These humans represent everything we have moved beyond. High Arbiter Vexthul made one last attempt at reason. War Prime, what if they truly are peaceful? What if we're about to start a war with beings who only want to find a home? Gorlak's compound eyes fixed on her. Then they chose the wrong galaxy to call home. In the deep void at the galaxy's edge, two fleets prepared for a battle that would reshape the understanding of what was possible. The hegemony fleet approached in perfect formation, 500 ships moving as one coordinated unit. They had overwhelming numbers, refined technology, and the confidence that came from 12 centuries of unchallenged superiority. The human fleet waited for them in seeming disorder. 50,000 ships scattered across three-dimensional space, in patterns that made no tactical sense to any known military doctrine. They were outnumbered 10 to 1, facing the combined might of a galactic civilization. But Admiral Kim stood calmly on his bridge, watching the approaching alien fleet. Around him, his crew prepared for battle with the quiet efficiency of people who had spent 8 centuries learning to survive the impossible. Admiral, Dr. Park said quietly, sensors show massive energy buildups throughout their fleet. They're preparing to fire everything they have. Let them, Admiral Kim replied. It's time they learned that humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. Tactical Coordinator Brixnack stood in the command center of his flagship, studying the tactical display with growing confusion. The human fleet's positioning made no sense according to any known military doctrine. Ships were scattered across multiple dimensional planes, some appearing to be in several places at once. Analysis, he commanded his staff. Chief Tactical Officer Veltar, a fellow Saurian, shook his scaled head. Sir, their formation appears random. No clear command structure, no defensive lines, no concentrated firepower. Either they're completely incompetent or they know something we don't. Brixnack finished. He had not become the hegemony's greatest military commander by underestimating his enemies. Maintain formation, proceed with the hammer and anvil strategy, but be ready to adapt. Fleet Admiral Youngsu Beck watched the approaching hegemony fleet from his position aboard the Iron Will. His heavy assault division was positioned in what appeared to be the most exposed location, directly in the path of the enemy advance. To hegemony sensors, it looked like a tactical mistake. To human commanders, it was bait. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his communications officer reported. "Good," Beck replied. "Remember, we want to shock them, not slaughter them. Set weapons. To disable only." Dr. Yoonji Shin worked frantically at her quantum physics station aboard the research vessel Discovery. Her team had spent decades perfecting technology that the hegemony couldn't even imagine. "Quantum disruption field generators online," she reported to Admiral Kim. "Ready to create localized space-time distortions on your command." Captain Dong-hyun Park commanded the stealth carrier Ghostwalker, positioned in a dimension slightly offset from normal space. His ship carried swarms of autonomous fighters that existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously in multiple locations until they chose to materialize. "Target lock solutions prepared," he reported. "We can be anywhere in their formation within seconds." The hegemony fleet reached weapons range. Brixenak gave the order that had always guaranteed victory in the past. "All ships, open fire, concentrated bombardment on their lead vessels." 500 ships unleashed the combined firepower of a galactic civilization. Energy beams that could crack planets, missile barrages that could level continents, and gravity weapons that could collapse space itself, all focused on what appeared to be the most vulnerable human ships. Dr. Shin activated her quantum disruptors. Reality bent around the human fleet as space-time itself became uncertain. The hegemony weapons found themselves targeting positions that no longer existed in normal space. Energy beams passed through quantum shadows. Missiles chased targets that were simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. "What's happening?" Veltar shouted as his targeting systems failed completely. "The computers can't lock onto anything," Brixenak watched in growing alarm as his perfect attack dissolved into chaos. Weapons that should have destroyed the human fleet were hitting empty space. Sensors that should have tracked enemy movements were showing impossible readings. "They're fighting in 4 dimensions," he realized with growing horror. "They've learned to use space itself as a weapon." Admiral Bayek chose that moment to reveal humanity's true tactical evolution. The scattered human fleet suddenly moved as one organism. Ships that had appeared to be in random positions were actually placed with mathematical precision. The chaos was controlled, the disorder was designed. Captain Lee led the first wave of human ships directly into the hegemony formation. Her ship, Indomitable, took deliberate damage from alien weapons, something no hegemony commander would ever consider acceptable. But the damage was calculated, designed to get her ships close enough for the next phase. "Boarding parties launch," she commanded. Humans in powered armor shot from their ships toward hegemony vessels. The sight of enemy soldiers actually attempting to board their ship sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. No one had tried such a primitive tactic in over 1,000 years, but these weren't primitive soldiers. Human boarding parties had been perfected during centuries of fighting space pirates in the void. They moved through the alien ships like ghosts, appearing from impossible angles, striking with precision that left alien crews stunned but alive. Brixenak found himself facing something his tactical training had never prepared him for. The humans weren't just using superior technology, they were using it in ways that violated every rule of civilized warfare. "Sir," Veltar reported urgently, "human soldiers have taken control of our ship's main computers. They're not destroying anything, they're just shutting everything down." Captain Park's stealth fighters materialized throughout the hegemony formation. The autonomous craft moved with inhuman precision, striking power systems and weapons arrays while carefully avoiding life support. In minutes, dozens of hegemony ships found themselves helpless in space. "This is impossible," Brixenak muttered. His perfect formation was falling apart. Ships were being disabled by enemies that seemed to phase in and out of existence. Boarding parties were taking control of vessels without killing anyone. It was warfare unlike anything in recorded history. War Prime Gorlak, monitoring the battle from his command ship in the rear guard, watched his greatest fleet being systematically dismantled. "How are they doing this? We outnumber them 10 to 1. The answer came from an unexpected source. High Arbiter Vexthol, who had insisted on observing the battle, studied the tactical displays with growing understanding. "They're not fighting to destroy us," she said with sudden clarity. "They're fighting to prove a point. Look at the casualty reports, 0 deaths on either side. They could have annihilated our entire fleet, but they're choosing not to." As if to prove her point, Admiral Kim's voice suddenly echoed through every hegemony ship simultaneously. Dr. Park had managed to hack into their entire communication network. "Commanders of the hegemony fleet." Kim's voice was calm and steady. "We did not come here to fight. We came here to find a new home after our old one was destroyed. We have disabled your ships to prevent further bloodshed, but we have harmed none of your people." Brixenac stood surrounded by the wreckage of his tactical certainty. Half his fleet was disabled. The other half was too confused to fight effectively, and the humans had done it all without killing a single alien. "We are not your enemies," Admiral Kim continued. "We are explorers, survivors, and builders. We offer knowledge, partnership, and the reminder that the universe is vast and full of wonders yet to be discovered. But we will not be caged, controlled, or exterminated." Captain Lee's voice joined the transmission. "You've built something beautiful here, a galaxy at peace, but peace without growth is just another kind of death. We've spent 8 centuries learning to survive in the void. Let us teach you what we've learned." Dr. Shin added her own message. "Your technology is impressive, but it's been stagnant for centuries. We can show you innovations that will revolutionize your understanding of physics. Together we could accomplish things neither of our peoples could achieve alone." Brixenac looked at his tactical display. The human fleet had reformed into a defensive pattern, clearly offering his forces the chance to withdraw. They had proven their superiority beyond any doubt, but they were choosing mercy over victory. "This changes everything," he said quietly. War Prime. Gorlak was less willing to accept the new reality. "All ships regroup for a second assault. We cannot allow this humiliation to stand." But High Arbiter Vexthul had heard enough. Using her authority as senior council member present, she overrode Gorlak's orders. "All hegemony ships, stand down," she commanded. "We have learned what we came to learn. These humans are not our enemies." "Admiral." Kim's final words echoed through the void between 2 fleets that had expected to fight to the death, but instead had found something neither had anticipated: hope. "Choose your next move carefully," he said. "The galaxy is about to change, and you can either help guide that change or be swept away by it. We prefer the first option." 6 months after the battle that changed everything, Ambassador Hee-Jin Cho stood in the newly constructed human embassy on Neutral Station 7. Through her window, she could see ships from dozens of different species docking at the station's ports. The galaxy was buzzing with activity unlike anything seen in centuries. The aftermath of the fleet engagement had created ripples throughout hegemony space. News of human restraint and technological superiority spread faster than official reports. While the Hegemony Council debated policy, individual species and colonies were making their own decisions about humanity. General Sung-Min Jung entered the ambassador's office carrying the latest reports. "Ambassador, we have formal contact requests from 18 different species. 3 of them aren't even part of the Hegemony Council." "What about the council itself?" Cho asked. "Still deadlocked," Jang replied. "High Arbiter Vexthul is leading a growing coalition that wants full diplomatic relations. But War Prime Gorlak and his hardliners are preparing for total war. They're convinced that human influence will destroy their perfect order." Ambassador Cho nodded. She had expected this. Change was always frightening to those who had invested everything in the status quo. "What about the third faction?" "The isolationists are building massive defensive barriers around their core worlds. They're willing to give up the outer rim entirely if it means avoiding contact with us." The real breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Dr. A. Ramoon, humanity's leading terraforming specialist, had been contacted directly by the Etherian species. Their homeworld, Lumina Prime, had been slowly dying for 3 centuries. Hegemony science said it would take 200 years to restore atmospheric stability using their conventional methods. Dr. Moon had fixed it in 6 months. The atmospheric restoration of Lumina Prime is complete, Moon reported during the daily briefing. We used quantum atmospheric processors combined with bioengineered algae colonies. The Aetherians are calling it a miracle. Captain Bo-Ram Lee, now serving as military liaison, smiled at the report. Word of that miracle has reached every corner of the galaxy. We're getting requests for terraforming assistance from colonies that have been struggling for decades. The transformation wasn't limited to technology. Human cultural influence was spreading just as rapidly. On worlds throughout the galaxy, alien artists were creating new forms of expression inspired by human concepts of controlled chaos and beautiful imperfection. The most significant change was happening on Centralis Prime itself. Young representatives from all 7 major species were gathering at the human embassy, eager to learn about human philosophy and methods. Ambassador Cho met with them regularly, sharing stories of human history, both the triumphs and the failures. She spoke of wars that had nearly destroyed Earth, but also of the creativity and innovation that had emerged from those conflicts. She told them about the decision to leave their dying homeworld rather than accept extinction. Your species faced the ultimate test, said young Kithara, a Kithara diplomat whose compound eyes gleamed with interest. When your world died, you chose to carry your civilization to the stars rather than die with your planet. That choice created everything you've become. Every choice has consequences, Cho replied. We gained the ability to survive anything, but we lost the security of a permanent home. We became explorers and innovators, but we also became wanderers. The discussion was interrupted by urgent alarms. General Jiang burst into the room with news that would test everything humanity had worked to build. Ambassador, we have a massive contact at the galaxy's edge. Something big is coming through from extragalactic space. Dr. Park's voice came through the communication system from her research station. Ambassador, preliminary scans show it's artificial. Ships, but unlike anything we've seen before. They're huge. Some of them are larger than entire human colonies. Captain Lee's tactical assessment was grim. Ma'am, these aren't explorers or refugees. The energy signatures suggest weapons designed for planetary destruction. This is a conquest fleet. High Arbiter Vexthol's image appeared on the embassy's main screen. Her crystal form was pulsing with distress. Ambassador Cho, our long-range sensors confirm your readings. We're facing something that makes our recent disagreements seem trivial. The extragalactic fleet was massive beyond comprehension, automated conquest ships that had been harvesting galaxies for millions of years, moving from one galaxy to the next, consuming civilizations and adding their technology to an ever-growing war machine. Admiral Kim's voice joined the conference, from the human fleet. Initial analysis suggests these are automated systems from a civilization that died out eons ago. They're programmed to harvest all technology and biological samples from inhabited galaxies. War Prime Gorlak's image flickered onto the screen. For the first time since humans had arrived, the proud warrior looked uncertain. Our combined fleets are no match for this force. Conventional tactics will be useless against technology that advanced. Ambassador Cho saw the moment when everything changed. The alien leaders who'd been arguing about whether humans were a threat or an opportunity suddenly realized they were facing something that would destroy them all. High Arbiter, she said calmly, I believe it's time for a new kind of alliance. The next few weeks saw the most intensive cooperation in galactic history. Human innovation combined with alien resources and knowledge created possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone. Dr. Park led joint research teams that developed weapons specifically designed to counter automated systems. Human chaos-based tactics merged with alien precision to create strategies that could confuse and overwhelm the predictable patterns of artificial intelligence. Captain Lee found herself commanding mixed crews of humans and aliens, teaching them to embrace the controlled chaos that was humanity's greatest tactical advantage. Stop trying to predict what the enemy will do, she told an Aquarian tactical officer. Start asking what they won't expect us to do. Admiral Kim worked with tactical coordinator Brixnak to plan the defense of the galaxy. The reptilian commander, had become one of humanity's strongest supporters after witnessing their restraint in battle. "Your people could have conquered us," Brixnack said during one planning session. "Instead, you chose to save us. That wisdom makes you worthy allies." The final battle against the extragalactic threat showcased everything that had changed. Human. Ships fought alongside alien vessels, their crews working together with an efficiency that came from shared purpose rather than imposed order. Young Etherian pilots flew human-designed fighters that phased through multiple dimensions. Kythera engineers operated quantum disruption systems that they could never have built without human physics. Aquarian defenders used gravity manipulation technology that bent space around their homeworlds. The victory came not from superior firepower, but from the one thing the automated conquest fleet couldn't understand or counter: the unpredictable creativity that emerged when different species worked together toward a common goal. 1 year later, Admiral Kim stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the new joint headquarters of what was now called the Galactic Alliance. Through the viewport, he could see ships from dozens of species working together on exploration missions to distant galaxy clusters. Dr. Park had established the first interspecies academy, where human children learned alongside young aliens. The curriculum included both human innovation and alien precision, creating a new generation that understood the value of both order and chaos. Ambassador Cho joined him at the viewport. "Any regrets, Admiral? We could have stayed in the void, remained separate and pure." Admiral Kim watched a mixed crew of humans and aliens launch toward a distant star system, carrying the dreams and hopes of an entire galaxy. "No regrets. We came here looking for a home. Instead, we found something better, a purpose." The galaxy had been transformed. The rigid hegemony council had evolved into a flexible alliance that embraced diversity and innovation. Human colonies worked alongside alien settlements, sharing technology and perspectives that enriched both cultures. But the greatest change was in the hearts and minds of the galaxy's inhabitants. They had rediscovered something that had been missing for over 1,000 years: the drive to explore, to grow, to reach for the impossible. High Arbiter Vex Thule, now serving as the first director of the Galactic Alliance, often said that humans had given the galaxy its greatest gift, not their technology or their military prowess, but their reminder that stagnation was just another word for death. As Admiral Kim watched the latest exploration fleet disappear into hyperspace, he thought about the long journey from Earth's dying system to this moment. They had thought they were searching for a new home, but they had actually been searching for a new family. The humans were no longer myths or legends. They were partners in the greatest adventure of all, the endless quest to discover what lay beyond the next star, the next galaxy, the next impossible dream made real.